Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Retina UK AGM 2024. My name is Martin Kirkup, and I'm the outgoing chair of Retina UK. Towards the end of last year, I took the decision to step back from my role of chair after serving the charity for a little over 3.5 years and to hand the reins to a new chair. Earlier this year, we completed an open recruitment process which culminated in the appointment of Cathy Evans. Cathy has since worked alongside the Board of Trustees, and today she chaired her first meeting of the Trustee Board. And as part of today's AGM, she stands for election as a trustee, which will effectively ratify her appointment. Cathy was formerly the CEO of the Royal College of Ophthalmologists for some 19 years, and therefore she knows our sector and our work extremely well. She's a chartered accountant by training and holds a degree in law. Now, that's a very short summary for a long and distinguished career, but in short, Cathy is immensely well qualified for leading Retina into its next chapter. It therefore gives me great pleasure to welcome her to the charity, and I'm personally looking forward to working with her as I step back into a trustee role on the backbenches. Given that I've effectively handed over the reins to Cathy, the parts of this meeting that are forward-looking will be led by Cathy today, and the parts that relate to the reporting period that this AGM represents will be led by myself and our Treasurer, Ashley Grist. I'd like to formally welcome all of our members and supporters that are joining us today, along with staff members, members of the executive team, and our Board of Trustees. Joining me on the panel today is our new chair, Cathy Evans, our Treasurer, Ashley Grist, and our Chief Executive, Tina Garvey. I'd now like to hand over to Cathy, the new chair of Retina UK.
Thank you very much, Martin. And I'm really looking forward to the challenge of being the chair of such a fantastic charity. And I'd also like to thank you, Martin, for all the help you've given me in this lead up and for the kindness you've shown me and the insights you've shared. But we're not losing Martin because, as he said, he's going to remain as a trustee on the board. One of the things that we want to do to make this AGM useful and interactive is to have a question facility. So if anybody watching this has any questions to ask of the panel about the workings of Retina or items connected with the AGM, please use the chat function to let us know what is concerning you, and we'll do our best to answer either in the meeting or subsequently. Thank you.
My first task is to seek approval of the minutes of the previous AGM. This was an online vote, and we received 35 yes votes, 1 vote against, and 2 abstentions. So that was 38 votes cast in total. Proposing and seconding this motion are Elizabeth Graham and Simon Kitely. We now move to the presentation of the annual report and accounts for the year ended 31st December 2023, and I'm going to invite Ashley Grist, our Treasurer, to present the item as the financial report covers the period that Ashley served in. Ashley.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin, and good evening, everyone. I'll briefly present the annual report and accounts. The backdrop for fundraising in 2023 continued to be a tough economic climate, cost of living challenges for individual households, and further impacted by vacancies within our fundraising team. General fundraising levels held up, however, and total income closed at £1,287,014, which was 18% less than prior year, due essentially to no major donor grant and no government grants. It was another strong year for legacy income, which was £542,476, broadly in line with the prior year and still above the average amounts received over the past 5 years. A large part of our income is usually from voluntary sources, the key elements of which are the donations and fundraising efforts of individuals and groups across the UK. In addition to this, we receive vital funds from corporate and trust donors and are also privileged to receive a number of legacies. The trustees are aware of the unpredictability of all these sources of income and the need to continue to develop all the income channels. And as always, we very much appreciate the efforts of those who give us support. We continued in the year to provide information and other support activities for our community, spending £588,068 on these activities in 2023, which was a 4% reduction versus the prior year. We approved grants of £712,656 for medical research, which was a 77% increase on the prior year. Retina UK now have an active portfolio of 10 grants, including one added this year. And if these progress to plan, then a further £1.2 million will be required to fund them through to completion. As a result of the income received and activities undertaken in 2023, there was a net reduction in funds of £508,667, driven primarily by the grant approvals. And at the 31st December 2023, our total funds were £1,527,959. The charity's investment policy remains unchanged. For any funds surplus to short-term requirements, we consider using secure deposits on fixed terms of up to 1 year. The charity holds sufficient assets on the balance sheet to cover future potential grant commitments. Finally, you'll see in the annual report document that the financial statements have been audited by AZ's Audit Services, who confirm they give a true and fair view of the charity's affairs, have been properly prepared in accordance with UK accounting standards and with the requirements of the Charities Act 2011. I'm pleased to have been able to recommend the annual report and accounts for the year ending 31st December 2023 to the members for adoption, as well as the reappointment of the auditors. And with that, I hand back to you, Martin.
Thanks, Ashley. So we have sought online agreement to the annual report and accounts for 2023. We received 38 votes in total, 36 in favour, 1 against and 1 abstention. The adoption of the annual report and accounts is proposed by Colin MacArthur and seconded by Lucy Withington. Secondly, we sought approval for the appointment of AZ's Audit Services as auditors, again an online vote. We received a total of 38 votes, 37 were in favour, 1 against and no abstentions. The motion was proposed by Elizabeth Buckingham and seconded by Simon Kitely. So that takes us on to looking at the Retina UK activity from 2023 into 2024, and I will give a brief overview of that now. Ashley has taken us through the financial results, which are obviously extremely positive. And I will go on to say that as we look forward, fundraising will be a major focus for Retina UK in 2024, given our ambitions. And with the strengthening of the fundraising team, this will allow us to accelerate our funding ambitions. And to this end, the team will focus very much on developing major donor, trust and corporate sponsorship to help us move to a next level. Our ongoing strategy for the charity has already been set out in a review, and it will give a clear focus to drive research into cures and treatments of inherited retinal dystrophies. Now, 2023 has already represented an excellent start to the process, with the launch of 3 new PhD projects and 3 new project grants being made. 2023 also saw the charity share 16 opportunities for involvement with trials with our 500-strong lived experience panel. The Retina UK team continued to deliver vital information and support to its community through a broad range of channels and initiatives. We're indebted to our major donors and our corporate supporters for their vital support throughout 2023, and I wish to highlight the efforts of those who give regularly to the charity and those that fundraise tirelessly through their own physical exploits and through the mobilisation of others who remain the core of our funding base. I also would like to recognise the very considerable achievements of all of the Retina UK staff team who've worked phenomenally hard to deliver on fundraising. and to deliver an expertly curated programme of research stewardship and an impressive programme of information and support to the community. I wish to thank our volunteers who once again deliver great service to our community. Also wish to thank our ambassadors, our trustees, and the members of our medical advisory board for so generously contributing their time to the work of Retina UK. On a people front, the membership of the Board of Trustees saw some changes at the end of 2023. Paresh Makwana and Rachel Stevens took a step back from their roles as trustees to focus on activities outside of Retina UK. The Board of Trustees have shared their appreciation to Paresh and Rachel for their invaluable contributions and expressed a hope that they would be willing to return to the board when circumstances allow. We also welcome back new past trustee Colin MacArthur, who previously served on the trustee board. Colin's nomination is presented for ratification by members at the 2024 AGM. It's also been agreed by the Board of Trustees that Dr. Elizabeth Graham's term should be extended by a further 3 years in recognition of her critical role and to her long service to the Board of Trustees. I wish to take this opportunity in my final contribution to the annual report to thank my fellow trustees for all of their support and collaboration over recent years. I wish to extend my thanks to Tina and to the staff team, volunteers, supporters, members, donors, and representatives for making my term such a memorable and an enjoyable one. And I wish to wish each and every one of them a successful future. At this point, I wish to hand over to Kathy to look at the amendments to the Charities Constitution.
Thank you. We asked members to consider an amendment to the Constitution that would enable us to create the post of President. And this was voted on by 38 people, of which 35 agreed with the change, 2 people voted against, and 1 person abstained, which means that the proposal is carried. And this is tied up with an appreciation of the enormous contribution that the founder of the charity, Linda Cantor, has made. It's really very hard to sum up in a few moments, but Tina has done her best by creating a montage, which we're going to play now.
Linda was the brilliant founder of our charity because, amongst other things, she has clarity of purpose and great determination. There are countless examples of where these characteristics have come into play, and one is very personal to me. Linda knew that Sir Alan Rudge was planning to step down as chairman, and she decided that I was a candidate to replace him. She'd met me through an optical trade association and simply told me that she wanted me to join the charity as a trustee with a view to becoming its chairman. As those who know Linda will understand, that was it. I had no choice and will now readily admit that my time with this wonderful charity was, for me, very worthwhile and enjoyable. It's a wonderful community, and that is a great deal to the credit of Linda. I'm very grateful to Linda for that instruction, which she probably thought was an invitation. Linda has been our rock, rarely wobbly, often immovable. The current board will miss her, but it's so good that she will continue as our president, dispensing wisdom when asked, and unless she has changed her spots very recently, dispensing it when she's not been asked. Linda, it's been a joy to have known you. May I join the chorus wishing you happiness in this retirement and longevity as our president.
Hello, Linda. I just wanted to say best wishes for the future from Janet, one of your fellow past trustees. I always remember you as a determined and courageous lady. Really admire all the work you've done setting up the charity and persuading everybody to get on board. And for me personally, you were a real inspiration as to what it's possible for visually impaired people to achieve, given that my son has a condition, an inherited retinal dystrophy condition. So you were one of the first severely impaired or blind people that I'd spent much time with, and that was really useful for me on a personal level. as well as the support that you gave me as a trustee in the 11 years that I was on the board. So I wish you well. I'm sure you'll continue to still do good work with the charity, but do remember that you do deserve a rest.
I'm delighted to be here, Linda, paying tribute to you for all that you've done. I well remember our first meeting when I got a call at the Institute of Ophthalmology, and as the only person at that time carrying out research into retinitis pigmentosa, I felt I had to go along to Birkbeck College to meet you, Auntie Jessie and Harry Carlisle. And I really thought my role was to tell you all that you were completely wasting your time. However, I hadn't really registered on how strong your character was and how you'd bully me into becoming involved with what was the British Retinitis Pigmentosa Society. And I well remember the early days. I think you will probably remember the very first meeting we had at the RNIB facility in Great Portland Street, where myself and Alan Bird actually presented to an audience who had not really had any contact with doctors or scientists other than those that gave them bad news that they had retinitis pigmentosa. But that was an exceptional meeting which really had a lot of people and generated a huge amount of interest. And out of that grew the annual general meetings. Again, I'm sure you will remember the wonderful parties we had afterwards, in which Judith did the catering and I ran the bar. And I can't remember just how many guide dogs that I got drunk through them supping the drip tray from the beer without me noticing. And again, in those early days, we both traveled all over the United Kingdom trying to generate groups in the various areas. And that led to a lot of adventures, all part of the generation of the amazing creation that you founded that has subsequently donated literally millions of pounds for research into the inherited retinal diseases. So you're a great credit. You've persevered. We've seen you through thick and thin. I'm glad you're going to be our president. I'm glad you're going to continue, and I envy you not having the chore of attending some of our never-ending trustees meetings. I'm sure that's going to change with the future, and we're going to be much more targeted. So carry on the good work. You started it. Unfortunately, I'm still here, but I now have a totally different approach to the organization, and I'm very proud of all the work that you have done and all the research workers and their contributions throughout the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Hi Linda, it's Luce, one of the trustees. I want to wish you well as you take on a new role within Retina UK and to congratulate you on an amazing 50 years as a board member. You did an incredible thing setting up this charity in the 70s, and I'm in awe of how you kept it growing and continued to bring people on board with your charisma and vision. We first met when I volunteered to walk your lovely guide dog Spike, and we soon got to having chats each week after the walk. We got to talking about your charity, and you encouraged me to apply for a trustee position. And here I am, 10 years later, working alongside you to support people with inherited sight loss and helping fund research into treatments. I'm so pleased that you will remain the president of Retina UK, and I look forward to joining you in all of our 50th year celebrations.
Hi Linda.
Hi Linda.
It's Linda and Colin MacArthur here. Thanks to your drive and determination, you set up the charity at the times when and your personal challenges to overcome. And you've been at the helm of the charity for 5 decades now and steered it into where it is now, a very successful charity. The only thing that's missing is the scientists have not restored vision to those of us who've gone blind. But I'm sure that will be rectified soon. And we look forward to good times ahead with you as president. All the best, Linda. Bye-bye. Bye now.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda, for all you've done. Very hard to sum up in just a few words, but I think thank you goes a long way. I'm going to read out the results of the other proposals that were put to the members, which are about the trustee board. 35 people voted to re-elect Dr. Elizabeth Graham. That's to extend her term for a further 3 years. 1 person voted against and 2 people abstained, but the proposal is very safely carried. 37 people voted to re-elect Dr. Martin Kirkup. 1 person voted against. There were no abstentions. That makes a total of 38 votes cast. 36 people voted to have Colin MacArthur come back onto the trustee board after a period away from the board. 1 person voted against, 1 person abstained. So again, 38 votes cast in total. 37 people voted to elect me as a trustee. 1 person voted against. Nobody abstained. So again, 38 votes. So that concludes the appointment section of the trustee board on the AGM agenda. We ask if there's any other business and whether there are any questions in the chat function. Do we have any questions? Do you know?
There's nothing that's come up, no.
Nothing. Well, there's still an opportunity if you want to subsequently email. Perhaps Tina would be the best point of contact if after the AGM something occurs to you, because the charity is very receptive to members' views. I think that concludes the AGM. So thank you all for coming, and I think we all look forward to a very interesting and exciting year ahead. Thank you.